experience which I had back a number of years ago when I met Barbara Lamb. Do you know Barbara Lamb?
I don't know her, but I've seen her, I think, some YouTube clips, I think. Book, I think she wrote a book.
She did, I believe. She's a very wonderful woman who's worked for many years as a counsellor and a therapist for people who've had experiences and contacts that they find very hard to integrate.
Okay.
And I happened to bump into her at a conference, and I asked her whether she herself had had any interesting experiences or whether she was just a counsellor. And she told me the most extraordinary story of how she was in her bedroom alone and a reptilian materialized physically in front of her in her bedroom, held her hand for a minute silently in front of her and communicated with her that he had been bred specifically for the purpose of making contact with certain humans and letting them know that not all reptilians were hostile. And once she really got that, then this creature just disappeared. And I was privileged to hear that information from her. And so that's been a reference point for me, basically to support what you're saying, that there are at least small groups of reptilians that are not hostile in the sense that we have been educated to believe that they all are.
Yes. I think what I would say is that if the humans on planet Earth are freed, or they free themselves, then it's not very good for their reptilian overlords, because they will be thrown out. And I think a number of creatures in the know are deciding if they want to be on a lifeboat or not. Do they want to remain on the ship, or do they want to try and get away and try and change sides, if you like? Now, the major groups are not changing. They cannot change. They're so stuck in their ways. But other groups who perhaps observe what's happening on Earth from afar are making some very important choices as to where they want to be in terms of evolution, whether they want to remain in their position or whether they wish to use the opportunity that will exist when humans finally evolve, whether these other races want to get in on the back of that and to be carried forward. And as it stands at the moment, the reptilian group is excluded from piggybacking with the humans.
Got it. Okay. But there are some signs of change and awakening in certain groups out there.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Let me switch to a different topic that I think you touched on when you were answering another question from Corellia. And it's about the Old Testament God, as it were. About what the Old Testament God was really saying, representing, what he was trying to do, who he was. And somewhere in there, there's a question about who Jesus was, where he came from, and what is that real story, and why has that been so suppressed? And of course we know that so much has been altered and mistranslated and mythologized and so on and so forth, and we're left with this hodgepodge of documents that's all been kind of shoehorned together into the Bible.
The days on Earth when there was more than one ruler, alien ruler, and the planet was divided up into quadrants or sections that were ruled. Since that time, humanity has developed and has become more adult, and therefore the control has had to advance to keep pace with the development of humanity and to try to second judge it and be ahead of it. So the ruling god, reptile god, with all the values that we still have as creatures on this planet, was becoming outdated because human spirit was advancing even back then, evolving and changing, and it was necessary to bring forth a new icon which really capture humans for the next 2,000 years. The difference was that when the creation of the idea or the value of Jesus, it was almost like a double bluff. It was almost like an enemy within, because the code or the program for Jesus wasn't quite the way that the ruling elite had required of it, and therefore it began to work against the very system that had created it to control in a more almost a new age in relation to the old God way. So I see both as a construction to control, but the second program was hijacked by exterior forces so that it wasn't as effective, and in fact it was more beneficial to humans. Interestingly enough, I was told very clearly that the Roman Empire was created purely and simply to ensure that Christianity got throughout the whole globe, and once Christianity was seeded in every country, then the Roman Empire could collapse and fall. So that's my take on it, Bill. I don't know if that's of any help.
Very interesting what you say about the Roman Empire. When you talk about the seeding of Christianity, presumably you're talking about the seeding of the altered, corrupted form of Christianity.
Yes, absolutely.
To do with Jesus' real message, right?
Correct, yeah.
What do you know about the role of Mary Magdalene in relation to the Jesus story?
Mary Magdalene. Well, I can only tell you what I've been told, Bill, and that may not match with what you hear or think. Mary Magdalene was chosen to create a hybridized child, and that's all I know about her.
This is a child that's fathered by Jesus.
All I can tell you is what I've said. That's all I know. That the whole object of that was to create a hybridized child.
Okay. Do you know anything about the purpose or the function of that?
Clock. We'll just let that clock chime. If you create a creature that is so in tune with the earth, it can, through its consciousness, alter the earth. And I don't mean the physical earth. If you create just call it a mast, call it like a radio mast, for want of a better word, and it can hold and disseminate the entire consciousness, or direct the consciousness of the human population. If you can corrupt that, you can direct that energy to take the human race away from its proper course. But in order to do that, you have to have something that is made of that material, that is made of that consciousness, and is accepted by that consciousness. And time again, what's happened is that individuals have been used to attempt to take lock, stock and barrel, take the whole agenda off to something that's rather negative. But you have to have it has to be created of the material to be part of the material. And so often the battles that are fought is on how that creature lives its life, what its teachings are, what its values are, and to maintain its integrity. And in many cases, these creatures have to have a tremendous amount of off-world genetic material. I don't just use the word DNA, genetic material, because they have to be able to survive in the third reality, first dimension, and the fourth dimension for a period of time, and their energetic soul, their energetic signature is vibrating not necessarily at a faster rate, but it is resonating at a different rate from the body. So often these creatures, their parents will always, they'll never know who the parents are, or there'll always be some strange story about the parents. And that is what I understand, and that's about all I could really tell you, Bill.
Okay. That sort of leads to what's going to be my last question, and that is that several times you've used the word ascension. And my own stance about that word is it's a really dangerous word to employ, because it means so many different things to different people, and it's been so muddied and abused and co-opted into a lot of what you call New Age nonsense. But clearly, when you use the word ascension, the ascension of humanity or whatever, there's something very specific that you're talking about, and I wonder if you could define it and clarify it to remove any possible misunderstanding or misidentification of the word.
Yeah, I tend to use words, I suppose, that I expect people to understand and to grasp. It's like I use the word ET because I know people understand it, although it's not actually technically correct for all the groups. In a way, it's ascension in the sense that it's advancement, and I think that's as far as I would use the term. Humanity's got as far as it can get now. It has to make a choice. That choice should be its own choice. And when I talk about humans, I don't just talk about Earth humans. I talk about the human races that are far more human than Earth humans are. And the future to come, if it's to work out properly, in my estimation, will be, because it's all about souls, it's not about the bodies. It's about Earth human souls existing on a planet where other human-bodied creatures have a whole range of souls, but predominantly humanoid. So therefore, I mentioned earlier the Lyran group, the Palladian group, the Syrian group, which would be able to come in on the advancement of humans, and the mantid or mantis group piggybacking, because they are stuck in a cul-de-sac, they wish to evolve. And so I'm not talking about people running into the street waving their hands in the air shouting hallelujah, I've ascended. I'm referring to humans' values changing, humans becoming aware of how they've been lied to and tricked, and the very people that they put their trust and their faith in have for centuries been corrupting them and lying to them. And instead of falling apart, these group of humans have got to basically rewrite their constitution, not just the constitution of government, but their constitution of themselves, who they are, how they got here, and what the hell they're going to do now, and where they're going to go. And my great worry is in that crucial vacuum that will occur when the old guard are thrown out, somebody else of a negative force may attempt to grab that opportunity and present themselves as a saviour. And that's why it's very important that humanity looks to itself and not to an outside force. And I honestly see a positive time ahead where, and this is what people who are genuinely contactees or abductees talk about, sharing with other races. In other words, that is when we will come into contact with, in an open way, other creatures, when individual humans are in a position to appreciate their own role and their own position within the greater makeup. So for me, ascension is every individual human having the opportunity to make the choice, and a majority of humans making that choice to throw off all the values that they've been saddled with.
Fabulous. Someone should transcribe that and put it on a wall or somewhere, because it's a very beautiful answer. Let me just thank you for all of your work. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your courage. And thank you for the clarity that you've given so many people. And of course, as you'd be the first to say, it's up to them now whether to take advantage of what it is that you're placing before them. I'm going to bow out.
Before you do, I just want to thank you for surviving all the energetic attacks and the attempts of the enemy to turn you away from what you've done. And I am aware of what they've done and what they are doing, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the people on this planet. because you have had the guts and the determination to create a website which has drawn people to it of a like mind, and you offer a safe environment. It couldn't have been done by anybody else, Bill, because you have the expertise and the knowledge, and I don't mean technology wise, you have that understanding of what it's really about. So on behalf of them, and half of them, Bill, don't actually know the truth, and I just thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Listen, if I was physically present in the UK with you right now, I'd just give you a big hug.
Oh.
And thank you for that.
Well,
thank you so much.
if you ever come over, I'm doing Probe. I'm speaking at Probe in England in March. So if you're ever over in England, you're very welcome. Whatever, you can always pop in and visit me, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand you back to Corellia now to wrap everything up. This is her interview, not mine. And let me just close by saying thank you both. This is a very, very high quality interview that we've got here, and I'm very delighted to be a small part of it.
Thank you, Bill.
जोग कमाओ सिंगी साच खबर कंतुला ध्यान विभूत चराओ ताति को आत्म बस करके विचा नाम दारंग बाजे परम तार ततार को उपजे राग सारंग उगते तान तरंग रंगत ज्ञान गीत बंदानंग